Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Outlands RoyalTea, the web-based interview show where the current crown of the Outlands has on past kings and queens of the Outlands to talk about their time upon the Stag Thrones. I'm very honored and excited today to have as my guest Jarl Torn Thornwald. Your Excellency, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for asking me to do this. I think it's a wonderful thing that you and the Queen are doing, um, giving people access to history told from people who actually lived it. And we're in positions to make a difference, whether it was for good or for ill. And hearing these stories is pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've really loved about this show so far and getting to do this is getting to hear, the stories of how, for example, the colored dukes thing became a thing in the Outlands, or how, we started yelling Outlands at the end of courts, and just various stories that, the things that are ingrained in our kingdom that are part of our culture and part of who we are, and getting to hear the origin stories of those things has been really wonderful to document and to bring to a whole new generation of Outlanders. So thank you for being part of that.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So you reigned in the fall winter of 96, 97 with Duchess Elisheva. Well, now Duchess. You're the one that your reign was her duchy reign, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your reign. What was it?
Gosh, it was a whole lot of fun. And Elisheva had been queen with My Knight Leaf. And she had done such an amazing job as what a queen of the Outlands should look like, should be doing. And as his squire, I traveled around a lot, and I was in on some of the info that other people might not have been privy to. And so I kind of understood how she worked, and I loved every bit of how she does things and her as a person. And so choosing her as my consort was a no-brainer. I was 25, I think, and although I had been made a knight, which was one of my prerequisites for entering Crown to begin with, I gave myself two when I was about 20, and those were to graduate college and to be knighted. And before I accomplished those things, I was not going to enter a Crown tournament. So I waited until those things had happened. I got knighted before I graduated. So it was really easy to choose her. And even though I had some experience with circles and with the gears of the machine and how things kind of run, it was really great to have someone who had experience sitting on the throne, because it doesn't matter if you've been a chatelain or an attendant for, through 5 years, however many. Once you're in the hot seat, things they change a little bit. Yeah. So I wanted someone who had some experience, and not only did she have experience, but she's like a known world Rolodex. I knew a lot of people in Kingdom, some people out of Kingdom. She knows so many people across the world. It was great to have someone who had connections all over the place and to help take care of the business that we took care of. So when I approached her, I said, the first and most important thing about our reign will be to have fun. And that meant whether we were in court or elsewhere, we saw through very good leadership throughout my years there. I saw through my years the great leadership of barons and kings who I wanted to emulate, and the ones who had fun really connected with the people. And how many courts have we been to that are snoozers? The fun ones are great, and there's a time for solemnity. There's a time to respect the dignity of what we try to put into the game. But, when that time isn't right there, have fun, because, you might be sitting through a couple hours. And so we did have a lot of fun. We would prepare our heralds with a little list of stuff we wanted to accomplish. But that was it. We just kind of winged things and flew off the seat of our pants. I'm pretty good at ad-libbing. She was, she's an amazing queen. People really looked up to her, and it was a fun reign. And of most of the compliments I received from people who were there for our reign, that's the thing they say they loved the most, was how much fun we had.
That's awesome. And you're right. Elisheva is a paragon in this kingdom. She's one of those people that everyone looks up to or aspires to be more like. I was fortunate enough during my second reign to be able to name her as one of our as our walker of the way. So yeah. I have nothing but love and respect for her grace and everything that she does. So I want to swing back a little bit. You said that you had put some self-imposed restrictions on yourself before you would allow yourself to fight in Crown Tournament, and those were, graduating from school and becoming a knight.
Yeah.
Obviously, graduating from school, that's an easy no-brainer. I totally understand that because you don't want this to interfere with getting your real world degree and getting your school done. I totally get that.
Right. It's a game.
But given the Outlands has such a history of unbelted kings and it not really being a big deal here, why was it important to you that you be a knight before you enter Crown Tournament?
And what I say, I don't think that everyone should hold dear. This is only a personal thing, but just I wanted, first of all, knighthood for me was a rite of passage. It wasn't just cool. I jumped through all the hoops and became a badass fighter and thanks, guys. No, it was at some point in my teenage years, I didn't have any real role models. I mean, my father was a provider and he never let us want for anything. But I just wasn't inspired by what he wanted to do, and so I was young, I was 17, doing things I shouldn't have been doing. As a matter of fact, I was introduced into the SCA because of things I shouldn't have been doing. I was grounded from my friends at the high school. Trenton McLeod, Jay Turley, Malcolm Matham, so many, Soren. I could go on and list names, but I don't have time for that. But so many wonderful people in Driggistan. Anyway, I was grounded from all of them. And one day my mom came home from work and I was at home already from school. And she said, "Why don't you come with me?" And so I got into the car with her and she took me over to, I think it's St. Michael's Park. It's the one with the train in Santa Fe. Took me over there and we're driving by the park and I saw a whole bunch of people in armor beating the crap out of each other. And I had loved playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger. And a buddy of mine and I used to make foam weapons, beat each other up with those. And so I think she saw what I was interested in and took me over there. And I mean, I just fell in love. I got out of the car, ditched my mom. Sorry, Mom. Ditched her and just started booking towards the fighting field. And this old lady stepped out in front of me and she goes, "What do you want, young lord?" And I said, "I want to do that." And I was pointing at the field and she turned and looked behind her. And here comes Lee, walking off the battlefield with that big old grin of his. And she goes, "Talk to him." And it turns out that she was his mother-in-law at the time. He was married to Robin. That was Robin's mother. From that moment on, Leaf and I clicked. I went to a Shar meeting that night, and it all just started percolating from there. I found the role model I needed. And, if it wasn't for that meeting, if it wasn't for my mom knowing what I needed, I was probably destined for at least a couple days in jail at some point, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. I don't even remember the original question, and that might keep happening.
That's okay. The original question was, why did you set the self-imposed rule that you had to be a knight before you fought in Crown?
Right. Wow, that was a tangent. Because it was so knighting was a rite of passage for me. I was a snot-nosed kid who didn't know anything, who really acted as if he did, and I had to get, pushed down a few times. And while I was watching Leaf grow into a knight himself and then into king, well, I guess it must have been before king, but while he was growing into knight, I decided, you know what, if I become king, and I'd seen Gunvald as king and Arton and Johan and all these great people, I decided, I want to know how the system works before I just jump in. And granted, that, like I said, that doesn't mean other people shouldn't do that. The Outlands will come together for someone who doesn't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Anybody can enter Crown, and if it's their day to win, whether they be, a six-time Duke or, a guy who's been on the field for a year, that person who's been on the field for a year has a shot. And if it happens, plenty of people will come to support that person. However, I just wanted to know as much as I could before doing that. And I'm really glad I did. I was able to meet movers and shakers from other kingdoms in that time, and other knights and so on and so forth. So I'm glad I made that decision. It really helped me in my reign.
I think it's good to hear that, and for people to hear that viewpoint. And I agree with you. It's not like your self-imposed rule. It doesn't mean everybody should be that way or whatever. But I think people need to hear those different viewpoints and understand why. Right. That's why I wanted to ask you that question, is the understanding of why it was important to you.
Yeah.
Personally, I had the goal of, I wanted to win Crown not as a knight. And then I won my first crown as the baby knight. I was knighted 6 months before, and I won crown, and I got through my reign. And when I got done, I sat back and I looked and I went, wow, I'm really glad I didn't win as an unbelted guy, because it would have been a lot harder for me. There were things that would have been more challenging because I wasn't a knight had I won before I was a knight, right?
I mean, there are plenty of stories from the unbelted kings that, there were some difficult times they encountered that probably wouldn't have had they been knighted.
Yeah.
Of course, they persevered and did a great job anyway.
Absolutely. Like I said, we've got a long history of unbelted kings in our kingdom, and they've all done really well and done well for the kingdom. So it's not an issue here, but it's good to have those stories and those backgrounds as to why we're doing things the way we are, right? So one of the things I want to talk to you about with your crown tournament, it was a special circumstance, right? The crown you won was the first time we had to do an emergency crown tournament, a do-over crown.
Correct.
And, it was tacked on to Kingdom ANS, and it was, instead of fighting crown on Saturday like normal, we fought, the tournament was on Sunday. So there were some oddities about it, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Crown Take 1, as I call it, took place in Windkeep at really beautiful campgrounds near Laramie. I can't remember the name of it. Kurt Gowdy. I think it was Kurt Gowdy. Absolutely gorgeous place. And I had just graduated college. I was pretty stoked to win. I had just revamped my helm over at Feltor's house, and that's going to be a different story that I do want to tell. However, so I had gone up to Windkeep, and the tourney was held there. There were a lot of combatants. In the end, it was down to 3 of us. I ended up taking a killing blow, and the prince celebrated his feast up in the feast area, while I and the Black Duke and Sir Assad and Baron Stefan and a few other people hung out down at the list field, which was also where we all camped, and we had dinner and we were drinking. And it was a good thing that we did that, because must have been an hour or so into it, we noticed that the sky was kind of turning green, and the ceiling must have been only like 100 yards above our heads. It was really freaky looking. I hadn't seen that before. And a lady came down from the feast off the hill and came to us and said, "Hey, we just got warning of tornadoes in the area. Just beware. And we said, okay. And it started getting windy, like right around when she came down. I don't remember who it was, but anyway, so in our imp-like mischievousness to help protect everything, we started taking down the camp. And first we took down the Kingdom Pavilion and, held it down with chairs. So we were robbing Peter to put Paul's tent in place, and we had ropes from here and chairs over there. And it was actually pretty fun protecting all of the camp by moving everybody's stuff around. Next morning, it was really fun watching people come out and go, oh, what? Looking for their stuff, finding their stuff over here. What happened? And, it was a good thing we did because it got really, really windy. So anyway, we left, and then must have been a couple weeks later, I got a call from Iroh, and he said that there were circumstances that had happened which made Crown Take One forfeit, and that Crown would be refought, and that it would be done in Albuquerque at Kingdom A&S. And like Bela said, it was done on a Sunday instead of a Saturday like usual. And what a beautiful day. It was gorgeous outside, and even more so than Windkeep, I felt that, yeah, this is the day. And I had a really good time fighting in the tournament. There were a whole lot of great fights. In the end, it was myself and Duke Johann again in the story. And before our fight, we knew who it was, like fighting against each other. I went to his tent and I said, hey, man, no slop, right? He goes, no slop. And between us, that means we're not taking any ricky-ticky stuff. Yep. Lightweight, and we'll acknowledge that everything's, light or whatever. And we proceeded to really have a brutal fight at the end. And I'm pretty happy to state that I had to best the Black Duke in order to win my crown. And then I got to put a princess coronet on Elisheva's head, and that was really cool. That awesome. Was cool, watching her cheeks get all bright red.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. One more thing to make this story even better. Now we're going to rewind back to Grand Outlandish at the experimental site. And that was the place where there used to actually exist a Crimson Hill. And you would have to climb up the hill, walk up the hill to get to Crimson and drink Broga and party up there and have a good time. Well, the Black Duke, the White Duke, Sir Arton, and the Green Duke, Sir Leaf, and I were walking around at the bottom of the hill getting ready to go up. And I was still Leaf's squire, and I was just going off about, I can't wait to be king. This is going to be so fun. And Arton says, I curse your first crown. You're not going to win your first crown. And so his curse lived and died.
That's awesome.
I love you, Arton. That's a fun story to tell.
That's perfect. I love it. So during your reign, you reigned during Estrella. You were an Estrella king, but also that was the first year of Great Western War, correct?
Sure was.
And it was like pretty much the same weekend as Estrella, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So how did you guys deal with that?
So I was prince now for only a few weeks because Crown Take 2 took place, what was that, in November?
Probably would have been the end of October, so you probably would have had like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't long. So there were 2 phone calls I got that made me go, sweet, this is going to be great, piece of cake. No, one of the phone calls was Dirk called me at my house from Kaid, and I think he was prince at the time, crown prince. And he started telling me about this great event that Kaid was going to have, and just about the beautiful sight and all this and that. It sounded like a great time. And we must have talked about 10 or 15 minutes about it. And I said, when is it? And he told me, and I was like, oh, that's the same time as Estrella. All right, well, let me speak with my queen, and I'll get back to you. And by the way, if you haven't been crowned before, or even if you have and don't know this, speak to your queen a lot. When you're having a conversation with somebody and they want you to do something, say, you're going to speak to your queen about this, and vice versa if you're queen with your king. That gets you out of having to make a decision right there. And sometimes you really want that out. You can get pigeonholed if you're not thinking straight, right? So that's a great out. Converse everything with your queen, your consort, let's say that. No matter what a difficult decision there may be ahead of you. And it's the right thing to do anyway. At any rate, I told him that. And then the second phone call I got was from Ivan the Grey. I was hanging out at Duke Chorus's house playing cribbage one day. And Ivan called. I didn't know it was him yet. He was on the phone with Chorus for a couple minutes. And so Chorus says, well, why don't you talk to the prince? He's right here. And so I got on the phone with Ivan, and turns out that there was a civil war going down in Atenville. And I didn't know the particulars. I didn't care to know about them. But he said that his group of people, which were calling themselves the Rebel Alliance, were going to defect from the army, the Atenville army, on Friday morning in protest. I was like, what are you talking about? You can't do that. Think about all the hundreds of people who travel hundreds of miles to go to this thing that's going to ruin their day. So what happened there? Let's see. So I'll get to the Great Western War part first. So Great Western War, I talked to a lot of different peers about it. I probably didn't talk to as many as I could have, but I did to speak to a bunch of people. I spoke to the people in Kerta, not Kerta, Unserhofen. My apologies. There was a big contingent of people from Unserhofen who were going to Great Western War for two reasons. One, it was 8 hours closer. And two, a bunch of them had friends out there they wanted to see. Sounded like a cool new war to check out. And so, knowing that there were about 30 people, 30 Outlands warriors, not just, these were at least, I'm guessing, I think there were about 30 warriors going out there. And so Elisheva and I decided to send Elisheva out to Great Western War for a few days. And then she was to come back and be on the field. I think it was Sunday or Saturday. I can't remember. The interview with her, she'll be able to tell you better. And so, in the Outlands, I'm not too sure about other kingdoms, but in the Outlands, the warriors, whether on the fencing field or the heavy field, really love their queen. And they really love the queen to be on the field, whether she's in armor or standing there. That's a great source of pride. And when the queen walks on the battlefield, it's like whipping out your can of whoop ass and drinking it. And next thing you know, you're charged. So the people who did not want to see Elisheva go to Great Western, I understand why. It was a bullshit decision to have to make, especially at that short notice. Yeah. And those people wanted me to show some spine and say, no, we're not going to go do that. That's petty. However, we felt it best that since we had an army, a contingent of, it wasn't just a couple guys. We had an actual solid contingent. I mean, we think of the people that Unserhofen sent out, they beat the crap out of whoever was in front of them. So we decided that it was best to send her out there for at least part of the weekend. And, those who weren't interested in that kind of stuff didn't care and were happy to see her, whether they're at Great Western or Australia. So we did the best we could with that, I think. And then as far as Aitenveld was concerned, I went out there early, and so did Sir Mishael and Sir Assad. Sir Mishael did Zaubertzungen, my grand knight. Chorus is my great grand knight. And then Gareth Artemisia, I think was just becoming a kingdom, and Gareth was prince, ready to step up as the first king. I think that's what that was. The 4 or 5 of us spent all day Thursday talking to as many Aitenveld peers and royalty as we possibly could, saying, hey, we understand that you guys have issues to sort out and they need to get sorted out, but it just can't be done on the battlefield. You're going to ruin these people's event. Friday is going to be a bust, at least for half a day. And thankfully, we talked to enough people to where they chose to take care of that at a later time. So I'm happy that we were able to keep that from happening. But it was a real big eye-opener in that once you get in the hot seat, you got some tough decisions to make, and they aren't all just generic, like, all right, so-and-so never figured out how to do this in 5th grade, so I got to help them with that. No, sometimes the stuff you have to deal with is really hard to deal with. Removing people from a baronial seat. Yeah. There's so many. We can get into those, but not necessarily. That was my story of a difficult time. Now we can say that the rest of Estrella War was a complete blast. Absolute fun time. And if people are interested, I see that my lady is asking me, seems like there hasn't been a courtly beheading in over 20 years. How do you feel about the lack of capital punishment? And do you feel that it should return to court? Yes, I think it should. I think I was the last one. and so, okay, we'll go back to Feltor. All right, so a couple of weeks before Crown, your first Crown Take 1, I was living in Albuquerque. I had just moved from Las Cruces, where I was going to school, to Albuquerque. And I was over at Feltor's place cleaning up my helm, and I decided I want to put some brass work on it. And so Sir Duke Guy, made this amazing thing. And I put the pretty work on there. This thing, thank you, Guy. Your work is amazing. Anyway, while I was at his place, he was talking to me about me winning Crown. Now, for those who don't know, Feltor loves self-deprecative humor. It's his favorite kind. He loves to make fun of himself. And so he asked me if I would banish him. If I won, I said, well, hell yeah, I'll banish you. You got it. And so I called Nichelle and asked if she and her consort would be in on the banishment. And as well, I think Kinzer was on the throne in Calontir, and they knew Feltor as well. So we were all ready to banish Feltor at Estrella War. And he was pretty happy about that. And so another week or so later, I called Axel the Executioner. Now, for those, many may not know who Axel was. He was a really beautiful, friendly person who loved having a good time. He lived in Arkell with his lady wife, and they were just really fun people. And he made the best blackberry brandy. Oh, man. One of his dreams, he told me many years before, was to be a royal executioner. I said, and in a real court. And so I gave him a call. I said, hey, man, I want you to be my royal executioner. He was on top of the world. And I said, as a matter of fact, I was thinking of banishing Feltor at court in Estrella, but now I think we should execute him. Can you make that happen? He said, oh, yeah, Torn. You just show up and I'll have everything ready. And so I went to Feltor's again after that conversation. Took me a couple days to work on my helm. And so I went back again and I told him what was up. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. So we all got out to Estrella, and Axel had, a really great illusion set up, Alice Cooper style beheading. And so Friday night court came, and Callantyr and Aitenveld were with us, and we took care of a couple items of business. Nobody knew what was going to happen except the crowns and my heralds and my entourage, a couple people. And so we got people drawn in and interested. We're having a little bit of fun, and there was a pretty decent crowd there. And then at one point I stood up and said I demand that Feltor be brought to court. And Feltor, being the great actor he is, crawled in on his hands and knees through the muck, being, a great peasant in obeisance. And I brought him up onto I don't think it was a stage. It might have been a little bit of a raised platform, but I brought him up, and all three kingdoms started accusing him of crimes. Here's your crime, this crime and that crime, and this crime and that crime. And so then I sentenced him for beheading. And the crowd was pretty stunned. And so got Feltor over to the box. Now, Axel had built this really cool black box, and inside the box was a styrofoam head on a pole. And Feltor got it. Oh, we put a hood on. Axel put a hood on Feltor, moved him to the box, shoved him in the box. Feltor got in there, put the hood on the head, and stuck the head out the hole in the box. And so I accused Feltor of a couple more crimes, and I'm just kind of saying things to get the crowd amped up, right? The tension was pretty fierce. It was really cool. Axel had a real axe, his big old executioner's axe. There was live steel presented, and this head sticking out a hole. And, I look back at Axel, and he's got his axe raised, and there's just joy in his eyes. And I said, hold! And Axel's eyes went, huh? And this is me being impish again with me. I like to be a little bit of an imp when I hand out good things. That's just me. And so I wanted to deflate him just a hair. I said, wait. And I walked over to the box, and I said, Feltor, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And, of course, he was holding on tight to that pole because the axe was going to come down on it. And so I kicked the head. And people kind of were like, oh, my God. And then I stepped back, and I gave Axel the nod, and he brings that axe down. The head rolled. I grabbed lightning. I was reprimanded by a couple knights for this afterwards, but it's my sword at the time. Grabbed lightning, impaled the hooded head, and held it up and said, the bidding will now begin. And the crowd went nuts. I got camels and silks and all kinds of BS thrown at me, and then the Black Duke, another part of a story. How about that? This guy is in all kinds of stories. He's in the back. He goes, I got a 12-pack of dark beer and camp ready for you. I was like, sold. And he came up and grabbed the head, and people laughed and had a great time. And what do you know? Roga has healing properties. For the next morning, Feltor showed up with his head grown back. Roga was rubbed all over that stump. Sadly, Feltor lives.
That's awesome, and that's a great story.
That's my favorite story from Estrella.
That's fantastic. That's a way, like you said, you made it fun. You brought some theater and some shtick that people had never seen before, and you made court interesting, right? Like that's one of the things I guess that I would tell crowns, someone it's their first time or even their third time or whatever. If you want people to come to court, make court interesting.
Yeah,
you can't have a boring court and then wonder why no one's coming, right? You got to do some things to make it interesting and fun.
Yeah. And if you're a person who's on the throne who isn't gregarious like me, I'm a total extrovert. I have no problem standing in front of people and talking, or through a video or whatever. If you are one of those introverted types, or who isn't so gregarious or used to that, then select people for your court who are. Having gosh, who the heck was Irel's jester?
It was Aiden Iliehu.
Yeah, holy shit, he was hilarious. I mean, Irel's courts were funny because he was an amazing jester. He did what jesters do for court. He was the epitome of a jester. Whether it's a jester or your herald, I'm pretty sure that Master Louis he was either white stag or blue iris. I'm pretty sure he was one of the two. Sorry, Louis. But Louis is just, he's got the gift of gab. I mean, he can be funny. He can be serious. His ability for words to, just roll off his tongue and keep you interested is great. So, it wasn't just me and Elisheva. We had people around us who were happy, people who helped us keep the energy going.
No, for sure. So you mentioned lightning, so I have to ask, what is your favorite piece of regalia for the royal regalia?
Well, Thunderhead. It's the oldest. In my opinion, it's the most beautiful. The stories I've heard of prior kings and that axe, those are fun things. I can't talk about them in public. And my knight was knighted with the axe. I wanted that, but I didn't get that. To me, that is the most, that one carries the most weight with me. The one I had the most fun with was the Mace of State. I mean, I tapped that in my hand in so many courts. It was just fun. I mean, that's a cool piece of regalia that I don't think gets mentioned very much. So the Mace of State. And then, of course, one of the most useful items is the base case of state. You got to carry all that special stuff around in a base case.
Yep. Very cool. Is there a thing that you think that makes the Outlands unique? Like, what is the thing that you think makes the Outlands uniquely the Outlands to you?
Outlanders exhibit what it's to be an Outlander. It's funny now, I don't know about nowadays, but I recall when I was much younger, there was a whole lot of, what would you call it, shade from other kingdoms about what upstarts we were, and ragtag and no order and yowling at the moon and playing drums all night. Well, you know what? Damn straight, and we love it, and that's part of who we are. It's a really great culture. It's a little more bohemian than other cultures, and I really love that. And not only is it a fairly bohemian culture, but it's a culture very accepting of just about anybody. I mean, you get a couple people who are going to be chumps here and there, but for the most part, Outlanders are incredibly hospitable, ready to welcome people into the group. And we party all night, and I still do. I'm 51. I try. It hurts a little more, but y'all at the moon. If you don't want to hear people shouting and yelling and having a good time at a camping event, don't camp. Blow. That's what I say.
Yeah. I love the dancing and drumming, and I can't sleep at a camping event if I don't hear drums playing.
Yeah, even bad drumming.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes that makes it rough. You might have nightmares, but typically, yeah.
Yeah. You need to have a little bit of background, something happening to sleep and feel comfortable sleeping at a war. And I think that's one of the things, the constant drumming, the constant looking for mischief and looking for the fun in whatever the situation is. I think that's kind of what makes the Outlands what the Outlands is.
Definitely.
I love being an Outlander and being at a big war like Pinzik, and then hearing, you know, the Drachenwalders or somebody up to no good, and then trying to go Outlands, and like, yeah, no one's gonna buy that. You know, no one believes it's us.
Right. That makes me think of Sir Torre. He told me a story once that he went out to Gulf Wars, started a bunch of crap, just being a punk. You know, he doesn't start real crap, just kind of being, oh, kind of like me maybe, and then he would announce himself as me and not him.
That's
So
awesome.
there's probably some not so great word fame about me at Gulf War just because Torre is such a great buddy.
It's good to have friends, right?
Yeah, I mean, friends like that, who needs enemies?
Exactly.
That's something old Random Delay used to say.
I miss Random.
Almost 53. I got a couple years left. Slain, awesome killer person.
So Slane would like to know: is the shield in the background just for decoration?
It is. That was given to me by Forrester through Flanagan. It's the scroll that Forrester made for my Thane of the Iron Heart award, and whew, it's amazing. It's beautiful, and I could probably fight with it for, I don't know, a couple rounds, but I wouldn't want to mar its beauty. It's got really amazing tooling. The paint you can see pretty well. The tooling is amazing. For those who don't know Forrester's work, I highly suggest you look at it. It's between him and Master Creon, it's the best leather working I've ever seen. The two of them are paragons of leather work.
Yeah, he for sure makes some really amazing scrolls and things like that. I believe he made a scroll for Zipser's knighting as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shield like that. So he
Yeah.
does a beautiful, amazing work.
I consider myself very fortunate for many reasons. That's just
For
one
sure.
of them.
So while you were crowned, and you talked about having fun and making courts fun and things, but one of the best parts of being crowned, and I think you would agree, is getting to acknowledge people and getting to recognize people for all the things that they do, and shine a light on them in front of the kingdom.
Absolutely.
Was there a particular award or a recognition that you enjoyed giving out more than others?
I don't know that there's one in particular I love more than others, but I really love giving out awards of arms, especially to the unsuspecting. Giving a peerage is pretty amazing. You know, I think it's just the ability to recognize people that is really the greatest joy, no matter which one it is. But there were, you know, I think seeing the surprise from an unknowing AOA recipient might be some of the best stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
As someone who has reigned, I'm sure people came to you before, during, and after to give you advice and things that you should do, shouldn't do, things like that.
Yeah.
Was there a piece of advice that really stuck out to you as like, oh, that's really good, I'm going to hold on to that?
You know, Arton was one of the people who talked to me afterwards and said, you could probably talk to a few more peers. And he was right. Absolutely. Now, that being said, I did have people to talk to. And I think that it's really important that you not only have people around you who believe in your vision, but you also want to have counselors who you're going to butt heads with, so that you can see another perspective of an issue you might be dealing with. So, you know, I definitely had a few people in my circle of mentors who I put things to that I would normally not agree with, so I could get their perspective. And sometimes I was swayed to their side of, you know, whatever my decision might have been. But, you know, Arton was certainly right. I certainly could have spoken to more people about some of the things I was doing. So I think that that's really good advice for anybody who's going to step into the shoes have a lot of people around you, and not just people who agree with you, because you're going to get blindsided if you don't.
Yeah. That's great advice. That's absolutely good
And
advice.
you're doing the job for the kingdom, not for yourself, if you're doing it right. And, there have been crowns in the known world that you can tell when they're just doing it for themselves. And what do you do then? You go have fun anyway. Or you might not go to certain events, whatever. They pass 6 months or so, except for you.
Yeah, 6 months if you're lucky.
What do you got? 1.5? You got 3 reigns under you now?
Actually, the beginning of May, we started our 4th consecutive reign in time.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun times.
And you didn't even get to throw a stick for them. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't fought in over a year. That's the hard
me either.
Yeah,
I got about 10 I got to get rid of right here.
Yeah. So
before my armor pits.
I'm ready to swing a stick at somebody. I'm ready to hit. Yeah. So was there a moment in time that you think back on where it kind of hit you that you were the king, or that like you had that, oh my man, oh, this is it. This is my king moment right here.
Well, it was when I was putting the crown on Elisheva's head. That's when I knew that this was real. And it was cemented even more, in the Outlands, traditionally, once the queen has been made, I think, I can't remember whether the oaths happen first or the regalia and everything is restored first. Is it regalia?
The regalia comes and then the oaths.
Okay, so after the regalia, the oaths happen, and you get the oaths from all the peers first. It was when the general populace was giving me their oaths that really was cemented. My coronation was ridiculously well attended. It took place at a recreation building that was owned by the cathedral I went to as a kid in Colorado Springs, St. Mary's Cathedral. And it was meant to hold 350 per fire department regulations. It was overflowing. I don't even know how many people weren't fed for dinner because of how many people there. It was crazy. So when the general populace came to swear fealty, man, that really hit me. The first hit was Elisheva, like, okay, this shit's real, let's go. And then when the populace, and it was amazing how many people. Looking at this sea of people in front of me, I was like, wow, I better do the right thing.
Yeah, it's pretty humbling, and it's very powerful to see all those people out there and know that they're standing there, kneeling there in that moment because they have faith that you're going to do a good job.
They had faith in me.
A lot of people you don't want to let down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was astonishing, It's not required that the general populace swear fealty.
Yep.
And, oftentimes people don't. I was floored and honored by how many people did that for us. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been out of the Outlands for a little while, but do you have any desire still to reign again? Do you want to? Would you want to reign in Aidenveld? Would you want to come back here and reign again?
Well, I haven't wanted to be king in a long time. I've entered 2 crowns, and that's it. And this is another thing of opinion, and is preference only, subjective. I choose to not fight in crown tourneys because I know I can win them. And as far as and I'm not going to throw a fight. I'm just not going to do it. If I enter a tournament, unless it's a newcomers tournament where the whole deal is for us to help them train, if it's a tournament for a prize or whatever that prize may be, I'm going to enter and I'm going to fight to win. And so if I'm not prepared to be king, I'm not going to enter the tournament. And so I just haven't felt like I was ready or wanted to be crowned. Hopefully, my lady and I will be moving back to the Outlands soon. The economy has made things go up in the air, but that's our plan. She just retired, and that was why we've been here for so long. And our goal is to come home for us to go to the Outlands again. Probably Colorado. Maybe once I'm settled down, I'll want to be king of the Outlands again. I mean, it's a great honor. Not ready yet. I need my own finances to settle down. And I know darn well that the benefactors to the Kingdom Travel Fund are always there. And it's amazing what the Outlands community does to make sure the crowns are taken care of. And hats off to all of them who do. But even so, even though I know I could be taken care of partially, I'm not quite ready. So maybe one day I'll make my lady queen.
Well,
we'll see if that's in the cards. First, I got to get back home.
First and foremost, if you guys move back to the Outlands, I know I would be ecstatic. I'd love to have you guys here. I've missed your presence in this kingdom as a friend, as someone that I look up to and go to for advice from time to time. Having you back in Kingdom would be amazing, and your lady's amazing. Getting to know her better would be wonderful. So yeah. I'm all for you guys moving back to the Kingdom.
Yay.
So we had something that came in. I want to bring up here. It's a statement and a question. When Leif died, I was left with a pretty large void. You helped fill that void by being someone I could look up to in the SCA and real life. You are one of my heroes. Who are some of your heroes? And that's from Oz in Kaid, His Excellency Oz.
Thanks, Oz. Heroes. I mean, shit. Leif. Leif was my hero. There are others, Gunvald taught me a lot. He taught me a whole lot. He's one of my heroes. Arton is one of my heroes. Elisheva. Gosh, it's going to be tough for me to start naming heroes and then not name people who are there, and I don't want anybody to feel left out. But Leif's the man. I mean, how many people did that guy touch? Mm-hmm. Amazing. So, when a lot of the things I did and do are because of Leif. He took me from being a little troublemaker to someone who I can look at myself in the mirror and be proud of. Gosh, heroes. There are so many heroes. Chorus and Leia. The franchise and hospitality that Duke Chorus and Duchess Leia taught me. My goodness, they put on a show at their camp. They're the ones who showed me what it's like to serve others, even in their own camp. They were both there to make other people who were there feel comfortable and happy. Stefan and Bo, they were Baron and Baroness when I first started. And although I grew up in Drigistan, I was in Alberon a lot. Every Sunday, every time I could get down there to fighter practices, Duke choruses in Adder College. And Bo and Stefan, I was really intimidated by them for a long time. Even though, running around with Leif, I would go hang out with them fairly often, And I was just intimidated because of their presence. You know, they had a very commanding royal type of presence while Baron and Baroness. It intimidated me, and I wanted from, you know, looking at both of them to learn how to be as stoic as they could be. I don't know if I ever got it, but they were really important in my formation of how to be regal, you know. So many.
Stoicism's hard to pull off when you're smiling as much as you do.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm serious. Yeah.
So with all those, with the talk of the heroes and everything, that's kind of one of the things that I bring up to people who have won crown and stuff. And so what would you say to someone who just won their first crown? What piece of advice would you give them?
I've got a couple pieces of advice. Number one, have fun. It really works. You're going to be busy if you're doing the right thing. You have to make time for yourself. You know, ditch the attendant once in a while. You know, see if you can ditch your guard. You know, keep things fun. Go to your meetings with a light heart. Peer circles can be difficult sometimes. And if you really want to do a good job, you need to have a really good crew that's working with you. I was listening to Duchess Aziza talk about how in her first years as being queen, there weren't a whole lot of things put in place that help the crown take care of anything. They've been added in as time goes by. Chatelain, you know, the royal go fetch me this, or the person who's going to deal with, you know, contacting maybe your seneschal more often than you do. Whatever chores need to be done, find the right people to do them, because you can't do it all. You really need help. Annalise was our Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
You know, without her, I don't know about half the things that we did would have ever been accomplished. She is a big reason why we were successful in the things we succeeded in. So pick a great crew. Pick a crew large enough that you can give people breaks. Yeah. Have fun. If you're not having fun, the people aren't going to have as much fun. What they look up to you. You are the crown. Smile. Even Absolutely. If you're having a shit day, smile until you get into your tent. Don't go into fits of rage in front of the populace. If you need to vent, if you need to go do something that's not necessarily publicly okay, take off your crown and get out of sight and take care of it there. Don't let the populace see. Don't let them see you down. You gotta be there for them.
Absolutely. Those are good pieces, and that's, I tell people those things too. But what I always kind of go back to is a gentle reminder of when you're crowned, when you're the king or the queen of anywhere, really, you're in a position where you're going to be someone's first crown. They're going to be you are going to be the example that they hold everyone else up to, because you're the first one they saw. Yeah. You're going to be somebody's hero. You're going to be somebody's once and forever king or queen, because the way you did it just really spoke to them. And that's kind of a hard thing to do.
I'm sorry.
No, it's a hard, that knowledge as humans, you know, we're usually our own worst critics, right? We don't see ourselves as being a hero. We don't see ourselves as being someone to look up to. So it speaks to Oz's comment, and it speaks to like this position. When you're crowned, you're going to be someone's hero. You're going to be someone's example of what a crown should do or shouldn't do. And, you know, do your best in that position to be the good example and not the bad example.
Correct.
So
Lead by example. That's my number 2 mantra. Number 1 is fuck them. Oops. Might have to bleep that with a little guitar screech or something.
no, this is an adult show.
It's number 1 has kept me happy. I don't worry about BS thing. I don't let them get to me. I may be well, I am very opinionated about many things, and I'll be happy to debate people, but it's rarely going to get under my skin. You know, hanging my keys up on the hanger and dropping them 3 times in a row, that's what pisses me off. So yeah, number 1, don't let people get under your skin. And as Crown, you're not going to make everybody happy. Ain't going to happen. If you get 50-50, you're lucky, you know. You get better than that, right on. Do your best to do what's in your heart, what you know is right. Don't try to do it based on someone else's, I don't know, nagging, or that might not be the right word, but seek counsel, but do your thing, you know, make it yours.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you really are doing something stupid, you're going to get enough peers on your butt to tell you are. You know, if you got 1 or 2 people giving you a hard time, yeah, whatever. Let them do it. Give them a gracious nod and wave them along.
For sure.
Do your best to be happy.
That's great advice. Wonderful advice. Is there someone that you would really like to see have an opportunity to be crown of the Outlands? Like someone you would really want to see be king and queen of the Outlands?
I have always wanted to see Kragon and Sarah as king and queen. I don't think it'll happen because I don't think they have the desire. But man, talk about royal perfection. And I know, haha, Kragon, I know you don't like taking compliments too well, but too bad. You're a badass even with your flaws. And you'd make a great king. I mean, I've looked up to Kragon. There's another hero, okay? Kragon has been king-like to me since the day I met him, when he was still Sir Mishael's squire. He was a knight. He was wearing knightly armor that he made himself, kicking people's asses. I mean, Kragon's been one of my heroes ever since I started the game. He looks like a king. He acts like a king. Come on. And he loves the Metal Kings. Yeah, man, reference.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody in the Outlands from our generation or older that doesn't look up to Kragon in some way.
Yeah,
like, that man is just amazing. I know he's one of my heroes too, for sure.
Yeah. Now, of people who I think that would probably do it, I'd like to see Sir Thomas and his lady. I think they'd be a fantastic crown.
I think they would be amazing as well.
They are great people. So much positive energy from both of them, and they know how to lead. They know how to lead people. They would be wonderful.
For sure. So I know we've gone over our time a little bit, but is there something that maybe we haven't brought up or talked about that you want to talk about while we have a moment?
Gosh. Got a couple notes over here. Oh, you know, I've seen talk about traditions and stuff. And I think that's an important thing in the Outlands. And I love the story about, here's the book of traditions, and you open it up, and guess what? That's written down. I think it's cool the Outlands has traditions, and that I think it's also cool that some of them can fade and new ones can be created. Some people think traditions should never change. The world changes, you know. I think that, like many people who've been interviewed, the Crown Tournament dirt is probably the most deep tradition that we have. It's really, it digs down into the heart of the fighter, you know, and the person who's on the field ready to do their best to take the best prize that we have to offer. And to see that dirt a crown tournament after tournament being added to and sprinkled all over. I think that's a super cool tradition. I hope it doesn't go away. I don't think it will. But I think that's the deepest and coolest tradition. A tradition that I'm happy with, what I'm proud of, is that crowns have continued to allow grants of arms or wear an unadorned circlet. I got that started during my reign. The first was given to the Honorable Lord Ramon Delay. Rest his soul. Here's to all the fallen.
Yes,
there are
absolutely.
So many. Random was first, and I'm really, really still excited to see that people in the Outlands who have grants of arms wear an unadorned circlet. I think it's really cool. So, yay.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Yeah. And so if you would join me real quick, you kind of brought up something that I wanted. We did a toast to everyone that's fallen. Just the other day, we lost someone who started in the Outlands and then went to Adenvelt. And Quillen was one of the kindest, most gentle, creative souls I've ever met.
I agree.
Would give the shirt off his back to help someone and make them feel better, and was always there. And the SCA and the world is less bright without Quillen here anymore. So a quick
here's to our latest Quillen. We miss you. And to Quillen's family and survivors.
For sure.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's always, that's the hard part of getting older. We're getting to the point where the people that mean a lot to us could be gone at any moment. So it's always a good reminder to tell the people that you care about them. Let them know you love them. Before we go,
you and the Outlands.
For sure.
All of you.
Before we go, I have to agree with something that Roberta just said there. You have been my friend for a long time. You have always been a great example to me. You have been someone that I've looked up to. You've been someone whose opinion I cherish because of how you carry yourself. You have that I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks attitude. You're going to do things that what you think is right, and you're going to have fun while you do it, and you're going to make it fun for everyone around you while you're doing it. And you've always been an example to me of someone to be like and to emulate. And I cherish our friendship, and it means a lot to me that you would take the time to come and be on this show. So thank you for all you've done, not just for myself, but all the people in the Outlands, of what you continue to do in Adenvelt while you're there. Thank you for being that paragon, and thank you for being that example.
Thank you, Bela. That means a lot to me. I cherish your friendship as well. I like that we can disagree and be friends. I think that's cool. I think that's really important with anybody. Especially now, I'll get just a touch mundane. People need to lighten up with each other.
Yep.
We're all people. We're all humans. We all have feelings. We may have different points of view, but I've got a really, Stripes, fun movie, great movie. Best line from that movie is "Lighten up, Francis." Lighten up, people, and learn to embrace your friends, even if they disagree with you. Better than castigating people is trying to help them understand different perspectives, which goes back to bring people into your reign who are going to disagree with you so that you get those different perspectives. Be excellent to each other.
Yeah.
We've got short lives, and we keep seeing our friends die, so
yep.
Don't wait too long.
Thankfully, I think we're at the end of the tunnel. We're starting to see things open up. Events are starting to be planned, and in-person activities are starting to happen again in the various kingdoms. And so we're excited. Her Majesty and I are very excited to be able to start having events and getting to see our populace and getting to let people know in person how much they mean to us. But
it's going to be great.
We're not there yet, right? We need to wear our masks when we need to. We need to get vaccinated when we can. We need to social distance. We need to keep checking up on people and checking in and making sure our friends are good. Because we're very much looking forward to getting the time where we can see each other and we can come to the drum circle and we can listen to the amazing musicians and we can watch the wonderful dancers and just enjoy being together again. So, keep doing what you're doing, Outlands. Know that Her Majesty and I love you all. Know that we can't wait to see you all. To His Excellency Torn and to everyone who's been a guest on our show, we thank you for coming on the show and for what you've done in the history of the Outlands. You guys, all of the kings and queens, have helped shape the Outlands and helped make it what it is today. And we're appreciative of all the things that you guys have done. So thank you all for everything, for being those examples, for doing the hard job and making it look easy, because most of you have. So thank you. And for everyone else out there, we look forward to seeing you soon. I'm trying to reschedule with His Grace Rorik, who we had to reschedule. So hopefully we'll have at least one more show coming. But as things start opening up again and we can have events, this show is probably going to go away. We're not sure yet. But till then, we'll see you all soon. And there are more appearing at the Outlands shows that are going to be happening. So you can check those out as well. But enjoy, and thank you to our tech crew. Thank you to everyone that's helped with the show and our guests. So thank you. Cheers, everyone.